Hello everybody and welcome to Dynamic GT League's Walker Memorial Trophy for race 7 at Willow Springs, the big Willow layout of the circuit. Before we get to see the action, let's take a quick look at the current championship standings. SGP leading the way on 114 points, Steve F1 in second, quite a way behind on 93, Mitch only 2 behind Steve on 91, and then Demon R's in fourth on 88. We've got Fluffy in fifth and he's in a close fight with Twilight who's sixth and Dave the Harp in seventh, only 2 points between the three of them. And then we've got Jimmy in eighth and Bunsell in ninth, and there's only 1 point between them. And then we've got Rich Blues, Gary, SRI, Tyler, Conrad, Jason, Groover and Hay fighting it out for 10th place. Let's take a look at how the grid is going to be formed up today, as is the way in this championship. It's in a championship standings order, so SGP sits on pole position with Steve F1 on the front row with him. Mitch sits in third and Demon R starts fourth. And then we've got Fluffy who will start in fifth alongside Twilight in sixth. And then we've got Dave the Harp sitting in seventh place alongside Jimmy in eighth. Right behind them we've got Rich Blues who'll start in 9th and Gary who'll start in 10th place, and right behind them we've got SRI alongside Tyler. It'll be interesting to see how those two get on in this race today. And Conrad starting 13th, he's been showing decent pace in practice. Let's see what he can do in the race. And Jason will start just ahead of Hay. Right, let's head over to the commentary team. And joining me on commentary here in the desert is Steve. How are you, Steve?
I'm good, apart from melting in this heat wave we've got. I'm all good. How are you?
I'm sitting in a tub of ice cubes, so I'm absolutely chilled. So the drivers are ready then. SGP on pole position here at the big Willow Springs. Steve F1 in second place as we wait for the lights to go out, and away they go. I say lights go out, there aren't any lights other than those on the cars, and it looks like SGP's had a brilliant start, Steve.
Yeah, that's what he needs. After dominating the last few races, he just wanted to get back in front again, but he's got Steve F1 and the pack chasing him down as well.
Yeah, Steve F1 is all over the back of SGP as Demon R is trying to put some pressure on Mitch around turn 2, and then we've got Fluffy being hunted by Twilight. But yeah, SGP has been dominant recently. He hasn't got the championship wrapped up yet, and he's going to need to make sure someone's off in the background.
Yeah, it didn't take long for someone to go off. This is going to be a feature of this race. So easy to dip a wheel on the dirt and then go flying off. So yeah, I don't know who that was, but yeah, already problems further down the field.
Yeah, there are. Fluffy looks like he was getting a little bit twitchy or laggy there, not sure. Steve F1 is coming under pressure from Mitch as Fluffy does go a little bit wide, or a little bit of contact there with Dave Yarp, but Twilight has managed to get ahead of Fluffy, so Fluffy dropping places. But yeah, Steve F1 has dropped off the back of SGP. Mitch is all over the back of him. Here we go then, so heading in towards the final corner, which is an absolute monstrously long corner, Steve, and comes with a few problems, but Mitch trying it all the way around the outside.
Yeah, that's brave going around the outside there, because it's so easy just to steer off the road, but he's pulled it off. A lovely move from Mitch there, and he's got ahead of his one of his chief rivals for second in the championship.
Yeah, Steve F1 also now coming under pressure from Demon R, who's got alongside him. Demon R needing to try and get ahead of Steve F1 and Mitch in this race. Oh, lovely camera shot there as we go through turn 1, kicking up the dirt, and then head into turn 2. You mentioned that we may see a feature of people going off here, Steve. I mean, Willow Springs is an evil location. Big Willow at Willow Springs is the nicest of the evil locations, but, as you said, you touch a wheel on that sand or the gravel or dirt or desert, whatever you want to call it, you could very easily find yourself lost.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a few drivers in this race that are just aiming just to get around the track over the 40 minutes without going off, because you've got a good chance of a good result if you do that. But what's going on here? We've got Demon R and Mitch side by side for second.
Yeah, I think Mitch was going a little bit wide at one point, and that's allowed Demon R to get up alongside and try and close in on him even more. Steve F1 there as well. So yeah, side by side they're going to go towards the final corner. Some people call this track the Whale, because apparently it looks a bit like a blue whale. Personally, I think we need a name for the final corner here, and I think it depends on who you ask as to what suggestions we might get. Oh, Mitch has gone wide, off he goes. So that's the danger of the final corner. He's gone deep. He's going to have to make sure he doesn't accidentally end up in the pits.
Oh, disaster for Mitch there after a strong start. He's lost so much time. There's no kind of short penalty for going on.
I can hear the sadness in your voice for him.
Yeah.
What we got here? SRI and Hay looking like they're side by side, going through turn 1. Yeah, so the pack a little bit bonkers today. I want to mention though, Conrad, he started pretty much, I think it was second to last. He's up into the top 6 already, so Connor's absolutely flying. But hey, he's been doing a lot of practice over the last week or two for this particular race, and so far it's paying off for him.
Yeah, I mean, a good point about Connor. He's one of the drivers in practice that was...
Twilight into
oh,
the dust.
no, Twilight's off. Oh, no, that's not exactly what he wanted at all. That's going to drop him down the field. But yeah, Connor in practice was one of the most impressive drivers, really showing strong pace. And the fact that he's already up into the top 6, it's going to be interesting to see what he can do in this race from there now.
Yeah, definitely Twilight. With that little... It was only a little excursion Twilight went on there. He was so lucky to be able to get him back on the track. But that has put him now in a very dangerous situation, surrounded by plenty of people, as Dave the Harp is now closing in on the back of Steve F1. And talking about Connor, there he is. He's there in 5th. He's closing in on the back of the leading 4.
Yeah, and Conrad has got nothing to lose in this race. A lot of the drivers ahead of him have got to think about championship points. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what Conrad does now. Is he going to take some, just go for it and take a few risks to pass people? Because he looks to have strong pace.
Yeah, he definitely does. I must admit, I'm getting a little bit of vertigo there up in that hot air balloon. I don't like heights. I really don't. What we got here then? Mitch, yeah, recovering from his off. Excuse me, I'm a little gassy today. I don't know why. It had nothing to do with the amount of beer I drank last night, honest. But yeah, Mitch now, he's in a whole world of pain. Not only is he in the pack, he may have dirty tyres unless he's pitted for fresh tyres, but he's in that kind of catch-22 situation, Steve, where if he now pushes, he could find himself going backwards rather than going forwards quickly.
Yeah, that's the feature of this car and these tyres. When you're running in clear air, it's pretty straightforward. But as soon as you're in this pack and having to battle people, it's just so easy to get sideways when you go a little bit deep. So he's got a tough task now to try and get back to the front.
That he has. And as they're heading in towards the long loopy right-hander, the final corner, I wouldn't be surprised if we're going to see more people going off at this corner before this race is finished. And Fluffy's dipping a wheel over there. Is he going to save it? He is just. Yeah, I think we're going to see that plenty throughout the course of this race, as we've got Tyler, Hay, Mitch, and Twilight 3, 4 wide down into turn 1. If they can all get through this, it'll be quite impressive. Careful going too wide there though, Twilight.
Oh yeah, the pack wasting no time in getting their elbows out in the pack and really going for it. But yeah, it was all very clean, and yeah, let's hope we're going to see a lot more of that throughout the race.
Yeah, that it is. I tell you what though, something that is an absolute joke is SGP's pace at the moment. He is just absolutely romping away once again. Connor's got really close to the back of Dave the Harp there. He's actually got up alongside. I think Dave may have just missed a gear change there. I saw his car just dip down a little bit as Connor was getting close. So Connor wasting no time. Well, I say wasting no time. By that I mean he's taken the first pro Fluffy, where are you going? He's off to see the wizard, the wonderful Wizard of Desert.
Yeah, good move from Conrad there. He's now up into 4th place, I believe. So yeah, well, can he now close on the back of Steve F1 and put him under pressure?
I think Twilight may have had an issue there. Just saw his hazards coming on and him ghosting a little bit. But yeah, Connor, great move for him. That's put Gary now, as we're looking at him, up into 9th place as they're making their way down the start and finish. But yeah, I mentioned about SGP stomping away, and he is. Behind is Demon R, who's got Steve F1 closing in on him. I've got to admit, there's some lovely camera angles here in the desert. There's nothing else to look at other than a racetrack, but there's still some lovely camera angles.
Yeah, may as well can see anything. It's with the dark and the dust. Yeah, it's quite a few challenges here for the drivers, but yeah, I think they can just about see where they're going.
Oh, you just follow SRI, see where he goes. And actually, no, don't do that, because he's just
depends how many pints he's had.
Yeah, there is that as well. Mitch was having a look up the inside of him, and now he's going to have a look around the outside. But you've got to be careful, because if you go too far around the outside, you end up on the gravel. But Mitch is kind of still in that catch-22 situation. Or has Hayes gone deep? That's going to give Mitch a little bit of a breather. He's now coming under pressure from Gary, so Gary's got an opportunity to attack. As SRI, he's going to be trying to pull away from from Mitch, and yeah, Gary is trying to attack Hay as they make their way into the long right-hander. I really don't know what we're going to call this corner. Corner of chaos or something. I don't know. I really don't know. Oh, someone's off. Who's that?
I must have missed that. Someone's gone flying off. Probably
Gary. It was Gary.
Oh, it was Gary.
Oh, no.
It's unfortunate. So that's going to lose him a huge amount of time, I think. Is Mitch. Can he make the move on Ray? No, he's opted to play it safe.
He has, but what he did do was get Ray looking in his mirrors, and that's made Ray slow because he quite late gave Mitch the room. But that has still allowed Hay to close in on them, along with Jason, who's there as well. Looking back now, though, at Demon R, I mentioned that SGP's gone. He has an absolute joke that he's gone. Steve F1's going defensive on Connor. So Connor, I said he wasn't wasting any time, and he isn't, but he's having a look here, but not really going for the move. He's trying to get Steve F1 out of position to create the better opportunity, which may be down the hill. Yeah, down this bit, Steve.
Yeah, Connor is, he's just at the moment just waiting for his opportunity. I think forcing Steve F1 to go defensive. So yeah, he's clearly got the pace here, but he's playing a waiting game as well.
Yeah, I keep breathing in here. This is like something's going to happen. I know it is because Mitch's SRI was side by side, and then Jason and Hay were side by side. And I think Jason just dipped a wheel on the grass. No, grass. There is no grass. Oh no, Jimmy. Oh yeah, Jimmy nearly running wide. I'm really doing badly on commentary today. I do apologise. I blame the heat. But yeah, Connor all over the back of Steve F1 once again. So yeah, really putting the pressure on.
Yeah, and let's have a look what's going to happen here. Oh, Connor's getting up the inside of Steve F1. Yeah, that's a lovely overtake from Conrad there. He sort of went for the wide line, wait for Steve F1 to sort of leave a little gap up the inside, and then he's put his car in. That's really nice driving from Conrad to get the position.
That it is. We'll see if Connor's going to go defensive up at this horrible little hairpin. It's one of those, it's a bit like Brazil. Yeah, he is going defensive. It's a bit like Brazil. If you don't go defensive, people will put the car on the inside. If you do go defensive, you end up going a bit slower, but at least you don't get cars up your inside. Talking about cars up your inside, Tyler's surrounded by cars because he's up the inside of all of them. I have heard he's a bit of a promiscuous boy. I feel sorry for his parents on that one. I don't know, boy never shuts up either.
Oh, someone else has gone off. So, who's that? Oh, that's, I think it was
Jimmy.
It's Jimmy, yeah, it's Jimmy.
I mean, it's one of those things that around this track. I mean, okay. So I'm just having a look at Hay, who's all over the back of Tyler. He's trying to make the move. I don't think it's quite happened though. SGP is still leading. It's SGP.
Is that SGP?
Yeah.
Yeah, I barely recognise the car. I've not seen him much this season.
Well, that is true. And someone's nearly in the pits. I think that's SRI. Yes, it is. So SRI and Mitch are still side by side. They're still fighting. Somehow Jason has ended up ahead of them. We probably saw that. I may have missed it. I don't know. Hay decides he doesn't want that camera to be there anymore. But yeah, I mean, SGP is gone. And yeah, whatever it is he's found with this car, he's definitely making it work, as SRI is now being passed by Tyler and by Hay. They've both gone up the inside, a bit like Connor did to Steve F1 a lap ago.
Yeah, great action in the pack here, and we saw at the end of that lap, car nearly end up in the pits. Oh, there, Tyler. Oh, he's just missed that little jump there. I thought we were going to see Tyler taking off there, but he's just managed to get away with it and rejoin.
He has. Fluffy's just dipped a wheel in the grass, though. I said grass again. It's automatic. He's dipped a wheel off the track, and it's cost him a bit of time. Oh, it's Mitch. Big sideways behind Jason there. But yeah, I mean, okay. Last week we raced Tokyo, and there's barriers, there's walls. You make a mistake, bang, you're in a wall. You're not going to end up very far off the track. You can't get off the track. Here, completely the opposite. You go slightly off track, you're not going slightly off track, you're going miles off track. And yeah, once again showing SGP absolutely stonking away. Demon R though, he's now coming under pressure from Conrad. So someone's I think driven into the pits. I'm not sure. I saw headlights going into the pits, but I don't know if it was a decision to go in there or a crash. But yeah, Connor, for him to be able to go from 13th, 14th on the grid, 14th on the grid, and legitimately catch these guys up at the front, he's definitely got pace. I'm wondering if what he might be able to do, if he can get ahead of Demon R, because from the looks of it, it's only a matter of time until he does get past him.
Yeah, it's been impressive the way Conrad's come through the field, because he's clearly got the pace, but it's how you pass people that's the key. And he's really picked his moves until this point really well. So is he going to do the same here with Demon R? Just wait for the opportunity.
I think you could be absolutely right. In the background, we can see the headlights coming down the hill. I don't like this racetrack, but I do like these camera shots. There's something I was going to say. Oh, Connor Big sideways there manages to keep it on the tarmac though. And to be fair, that's the Demon R hasn't though.
Demon R's gone. Oh no, he's recovered it. But I think Conrad's going to have the momentum here. So could this be his opportunity?
If it's not his opportunity into turn 1, I reckon it'll be his opportunity into turn 2. But yeah, because Demon R went off dirty tyres, that has allowed Connor to make the move.
That's a great move around the outside again. Yeah, lovely driving from the pair of them there. And Conrad now into P2.
Oh, hey, I think has just said, hello, Jason. Who are you? Where you gone? And I think Hay's actually slowing down. Okay, I think Hay realises he's given Jason a little bit of an early hot air balloon ticket there, so he's slowed down to wait for him, which is the right thing to do. It won't change the fact that Jason is probably lost in the desert and Hay might have to wait a while. I mean, here's a question for you, Steve, right? Okay, Hay, in that situation, he may have to wait a long time now for Jason to catch him back up, and he'll think that it's quite painful. But is it really?
Well, it depends on where you are in the field. I think where they are, sort of in the middle of that pack, there is the boost in this league. So even though he'll lose a good chunk of time initially, he will catch that back up. But it's good to see him waiting. I think it's always not the easiest thing to do, because you know you're going to cost yourself time. But as you say, it's also the right thing to do.
Exactly. Look at this, Connor has pulled away from Demon R, and I've got a feeling Connor may have the pace to actually catch up to SGP. We'll have to see how that is going to continue on, because so far SGP has had this race all his own way, and I've been mentioning it's a joke, it's an absolute travesty that he's able to just do what he's done in this championship and in this race. And it reminds me of a comedian mate that I've got who phoned me a couple of days ago. He's like, Dave, I'm struggling, I'm going back to work, I've got to do gigs, and I really need to come up with a joke about a supermarket and I can't do it. I said, oh, come on mate, surely there has to be one.
They could have spotted some tumbleweed blowing across the front there.
I like that one. You know, people are going to use that. Oh dear.
Good luck to them if they do.
Yeah. Okay. What we got going on here, then, Steve?
Yeah, it's all looking a bit tame in the pack at the moment. All nose to tail. We're used to seeing 3 or 4 wide here. So is everyone just being a bit cautious on this circuit? I wonder.
You know what, they could be, and it wouldn't be a daft way to approach this particular racetrack. The key of this racetrack is to stay on the tarmac. After that is to try and be quick while you stay on the tarmac. Oh, this could get interesting. Gary all over the back of it. That's all right. Somebody's off, and that's the thing. You go off the tarmac. Yeah, away you go. I'm not sure who that was. Jason's going as well. Oh, much later on, he's going to end up in the pits, is he?
That could be in the pits for Jason. Does he?
He just missed it. The thing is, we know, it is so easy to access. Whoever that was that went off at turn 1 is still trying to recover now and has just got into the pits. Not turn 1, sorry, the last corner. Yeah, it's only just now got into the pits. So that's how painful it is going off here. But yeah, I mean, we know that there is a certain line you can take around that final corner where once you start going off, there's only one place you're going, and it's called pit entry. So yeah, you want to try and avoid that if they can. Interestingly, we've got a great battle that's been sort of building and going on here with around SRI. We've got 3 wide into the horrible hairpin. Good luck with that, guys. Oh no, Jimmy's been squeezed out wide. Yeah, kind of inevitable, that one. Around this track, 3 wide is not good at the best of times. We're having a look at Connor. Has he been closing in on SGP? Where's he going? Well, no, he's dipped a wheel. No. Look. Oh no, don't go behind the barrier. Don't go behind the barrier. Oh no.
Oh no, that's such a shame for Connor, and that's cost him a huge amount of time, surely.
Oh no, it's going to get worse, because I know that if you go around this barrier, it resets you. If it resets him, this could be disastrous. This could be an absolute disaster.
He's going to be fuming. He was looking so strong as well. He could have took the fight to actually pick the win here, and he's going to be all the way at the back. Oh, he's going to be furious about that.
Yeah, he is going to be fuming. I mean, the off itself is painful. Unfortunately, I did that in practice around here. I think I lost something like 20 seconds by having the off. Or Jimmy and Gary very close here. Yeah, 20 seconds. Jimmy's not very close anymore.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think you're losing about a minimum of 20 seconds for any off round this track, which is bad enough. But then if you get reset on top of that, you're probably talking another 10 or 20 seconds
27 additional seconds. Yeah, that's how painful. Unfortunately for Connor, I mean, it's one of those things that from practice I did learn about that, so I'd kind of subconsciously said to Demon R, if you end up over there, don't go around the barrier, back up. Because unfortunately it does cost you so much more time. I don't think Demon told anybody else that. I probably should have done, but anyway, Connor, he'll know about it now. But yeah, at the same time though, it's one of those where around a track like this, yes, it can happen, but he's going to be angry at himself, isn't it? Because unfortunately it was his error. Oh, Fluffy and Jason. Fluffy's not making that corner, neither is Jason. Oh, they got...
Oh, Jason. Oh, he's got away with it. He's back on the black stuff now and hey into the pits. I presume that was a planned stop.
It looked like it. Either that we lost control on the tarmac. But yeah, I didn't think Jason or Fluffy was going to be getting around the final corner then. They had a little bit of contact. And that's the other thing as well about this track. When you get tyres a little bit dirty or you get off the racing line, it is so dirty, so dusty that you can have a bit of a tank slapper in this car normally and control it. Here though, you have a bit of a tank slapper and it gets worse and worse. Oh, Twilight, where are you going?
Oh, where's he going?
No, up over the hills, and far away.
Huge off. Thought he was going to roll there, and it's reset him as well. Oh, massive off.
No!
And now he's been rammed as well as he's rejoined. Oh, that's huge up.
Connor's come round the corner there. He's probably gone. Thank God for that. That's painful though for Twilight. It's so painful for Twilight. Oh no! Oh, I thought Rich was going to collect him there as well. I mean, that's one of those things. Unfortunately, he dipped wheel on the gravel. It's then spun him off to the side, and then he spun him. And yeah, nothing he could do about that once it had gone. Luckily though, somehow didn't. Oh, Jimmy, no, bye. See ya.
Oh, it's that corner again. I don't know what we're going to call that corner, but yeah, it's another victim. got completely lost on the outside there. And Hay and Gary seem to be having a few battles in this race. And is Hay going to get the position here into turn one?
He's going deep.
Oh, he's gone deep.
Is he stayed on the track though? I can see dust. Oh, he's half on it, half off it. He's still there.
Oh, he's got away with it, yeah. Normally those ones you just go flying off to the scenery, but he's somehow held on to it and lives to fight another day. But Gary's still coming back at him.
Yeah, he is. I'd say that someone's spinning at the final corner again. I was going to say, yeah, it looks like Hayes had plenty of practice of having his car in that position. Is it Jason? No, it's Gary nearly went deep there. And interestingly, Mitch, not seen him for a while, but once again, side by side with SRI. They've been sort of ding-dong battling all the way through, kind of so far. Oh, SRI getting on the dirt. Gonna have to be careful. Mitch trying to sneak up the inside of Gary, but he may have just nudged Gary a little bit wide, and I think he's trying to
Gary's off.
He's off and come back on. I thought it looked like Mitch may have had a little bit of contact with him there. I couldn't really tell.
Yeah, and I think just looking at the track back, I think a car's just gone a lap down. It's just pitted. A spinner has pitted and come out behind SGP by the looks of it, a lap down, so I don't know who that is. That's something just to look out for potentially.
Yeah, well, Connor, we're having a look at here, who's on a charge. He's going to be absolutely fuming. He's 3 wide now with SRI, Mitch, and Gary giving Mitch a bit of a bump draft, I think, into turn 1. Who's going to survive this the best? SRI going wide. Connor having a look through the middle of the two of them, not really anywhere he can go. Nudges SRI a little bit, but manages to hold on. I think in the grand scheme of things, not bad.
Yeah, look at Mitch and Conrad both. We know have got the pace around here, and they're both mired in that pack at the moment.
I'm sure you just said, look at Mitch and Con. That's what it sounded like, anyway. I nearly spat my water everywhere. But yeah, Connor, I mean, he's on the charge, isn't he? And he's back up to 7th place. And You know what? I think we did just have a quick look at SGP, and I think it was Twilight that was near him. So I think it was Twilight that may have been the car that's ended up going a lap down. I'm wondering if he was the car that I mentioned. There was another spinner at the final corner. And, oh, and by the way, we've got another spinner at the final corner as Demon R's into the pits.
Oh, interesting. Well, we're at kind of half distance. We've gone past half distance now. So we kind of know that fuel is not an issue around here. So I'm presuming he just decided to take some fresh tyres.
Yeah, well, interestingly, he's come out ahead of Dave the Harp. So I'm thinking that, yeah, Dave the Harp pitted on here in a lap ago for new tyres. Demon R has now pitted for new tyres, and he's come out only a couple of seconds behind Steve F1 as Mitch and SRI still side by side. And I'm trying to see, is that Twilight that's further on the road? No, it's not. So yeah, SRI and Mitch side by side once again through 1, through 2. Don't run wide, don't run wide. Jimmy's in the background, he's ran wide here a couple of times already. Oh, Gary having a look up the inside. This could get nasty for Mitch on the outside.
Oh, that's going around the outside there. He's brave. He's managed to hold on to it though. Who's going to come out and top into here? No, it's Ray. Ray's held on for now.
That he has.
The ball's still somehow on the black stuff as well.
You know what? It is Twilight that was there. Yeah, Twilight's there, but he's a lap down. He's not there for position. Interesting. Okay, right. Yeah, bit crazy that. So we've got a car a lap down ahead of Fluffy, who is now leading the pack, and he's got Jason, Conrad, SRI, Gary, Mitch all there behind him wanting his position. And I know that Fluffy has not had much chance of doing practice for this race, and it could cost him big time in corners like the last one as Jason slips up the inside. Can he stay on the road? He does just about, but Fluffy's off. Oh, and SRI has to take evasive.
Oh my word. Again, I don't know how the ball ended up coming out of that in one piece.
Neither do I. Yeah. Connor went into that corner in 8th place. He's come out of it in 5th.
Yeah, and nice to see Jason up in 6th now. I know he's got lost on the way to the circuits the last few races in his plane, but he's found his way here this time, and he's having a good race by the looks of it at the front of the pack.
That he is. I mean, I've got to say, this is fantastic stuff to watch. I just hope you can keep it fairly clean, because a little bit like Tokyo, where if you have an accident hit the barrier, you can collect other people. It's similar here. You go off a little bit, you could easily take somebody else off into the desert with you. You just have to make sure you've got plenty of water. As Mitch is still trying to pressure SRI, Jimmy is all over the back of who was it? Fluffy? Yeah, Fluffy. As they go side by side, I think Mitch is still going to be a little bit fuming from lap 2 and from that tank slapper.
Yeah, you don't want to be putting your wheels on the inside there. That could have been a spin, and yeah, this must be really frustrating for Mitch, because he should be up there with Demon R and Steve F1 fighting for second in the championship, and he just cannot get his way through this pack.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, someone just took evasive then. I think they've ran straight off at the back of this pack. Oh, Gary up the inside of Jimmy and Mitch. I don't know if there was contact there, but Jimmy and Mitch both sliding off the track and back to the back they go. Oh, I've got to say, it might be mayhem, it might be carnage, but it's fascinating to watch. I just want to give you a bit of an update though. SGP still leading this race. How boring is he? Steve F1 sitting in 2nd place, hasn't pitted, has got Demon R closing in on him, who has pitted, got fresh tyres. And then we've got Dave the Harp, who's a little bit in no man's land at the moment. And as I say that, there is SGP. I bet he's singing. I bet he drives along singing to himself. Oh, bye, bye. Well, actually, no. I've heard he drives naked. That's why no one goes anywhere near him. Steve F1 is in 2nd place, as I mentioned, but he has got Demon R closing in on the back of him. There he is. And in the background, we can see a couple more headlights. I know one of them is Dave the Harp, but it can't be Conrad that's right behind him, is it? No, it's not. It's Twilight. Twilight's on the back of Dave the Harp, trying to unlap himself. Conrad is here, pulling away from the pack, pulling away from that 6th place.
Yeah, fair play to Conrad. After that spin, he's managed to obviously keep his head and work his way back through. So, no, we cursed him.
You have cursed him. But at least this time is the right side of the barrier. Hopefully, we shouldn't reset him on this occasion, but yeah, he couldn't have timed that any better. He's got over what happened to him earlier, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, off he goes. Same place. And it hasn't reset him, though. That's the good thing on that occasion.
Yeah, he's going to have to go through that whole painful experience of coming through the pack again now. But yeah, Tyler and Ray now at the front of that pack, and Mitch, look at Mitch, still just cannot get through.
I'm wondering if it might. I know it might sound a bit bad, this, but I know, for example, SGP has probably done more practice around this track than anybody else, even though he would say that he hasn't. Right, I know he has. Steve F1 has done a fair amount of practice. Demon R has done a fair amount of practice. Dave the Harper has done a fair amount of practice. Mitch, I know, has done a considerably lesser amount of practice than those guys, and instead of being able to stay up there with them, he's found himself in this situation of being in the pack and can't make that breakaway, and it could come down to big sideways, and off he goes. Just as I was mentioning it,
big off.
He's going to have to be careful when he comes back to the track as well. He's about to reappear somewhere there. He's back on the track. He's not been reset. He's got away with one there. But what I was going to say was there'll be a lot of someone got twitchy in there in the white car. It was Tyler. Yeah, there's a lot of things about this track that like, for example, with the final corner, you get part way round and think, okay, I can go, and then you find out actually I needed to wait a few metres long. And unfortunately, sometimes that's where you need that extra hour or so's practice just to know what can happen around a track like this. Now, admittedly, Hayes done loads of practice, but it's showing, because at least this time he started when the race did and not a lap and a half later. I want to just make that's a compliment. I'm praising him. I'm not taking the mickey out of him this time.
Well, I'm hearing the race started about 15 minutes later this time, so that may be why he made the start.
I didn't say that, he didn't. What we got here? Demon R all over. Demon R's all over the back of Steve F1, but Twilight, who is a lap down, still trying to unlap himself, is all over the back of him. Now, I would hope that Twilight is not going to get involved in this battle between Demon R and Steve F1. And as much as we might like to see people give bump drafts, this is not the situation that I would want to see one. And to be fair, Twilight and Demon are leaving each other plenty of room. Steve F1 realising that Twilight is coming through as well with the mega boost, so Twilight goes through. That has put Steve F1 under a bit of pressure with Demon R on the back of him. But I think in that situation, I think it'd be fair to say that had nothing to do with Twilight being there.
No, I mean, that's sensible from all three of them. I mean, Twilight's clearly got a massive performance advantage with the boost. He waited for the right time to make the move on the straight, and Demon R and Steve F1 realised there's no point in fighting him and just let him go. So, yeah, that was just really smart from all three of them.
Yeah, absolutely. Demon R's going a bit wide there. I think he was Steve F1 went a bit defensive, and Demon R went for the wider line and nearly ended up binning it completely. I was about to say, is that SGP in front of these guys? No, it's Twilight. You've just seen him make the overtake, you numpty. But yeah, so this is a great battle we've got going on here for second place. And interestingly, with this situation, I mean, okay, I mentioned a couple of races ago that SGP may have had its championship defining race, but interestingly, the battle for second place is still definitely on. I think there's 5 points between Steve F1 and Demon R at the start of this race, with Mitch in the middle of them both, and Mitch could find himself. Gary, yeah.
Gary's gone. I think. Oh no, he's back on again.
That he is. It sounds like I've just made out that Mitch is going to be a Gary. That's not what I meant. But yeah, Mitch is going to find himself in a little bit of pain when it comes to the points he's scoring here today. Who's that? Jimmy!
Jimmy's gone.
Bye, Jimmy.
The latest victim of the final corner.
Gary! Oh no! He manages to survive the slide, but yeah.
Another second incident. It seemed like someone's gone off at the back.
I think he collected Rich. I think he might have collected Rich there. Demon R is ever so close to Steve F1. Steve F1 going defensive into the horrible hairpin. I'm going to keep calling it that. Either that or it's a bit like the. I mean, some people call this track the whale. You could, I suppose, call it the testicles and shaft, and you can make up your own mind on what the horrible hairpin could look like. But anyway, Steve F1 is going defensive into that corner because, to be honest, it's one of the only few really sort of door wide open potential situations a driver can find himself in, like I mentioned about Brazil.
Yeah, this is a great opportunity for these two, with Mitch further down, to get a bit of an advantage in that fight for second in the championship. So for Demon R now. He just wants to try and take points away from Steve F1, and he's got the fresher tyres here, so I can't see Steve F1 being able to hold him off for the rest of this race, given that situation.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think had Steve F1 been able to hold the gap at a couple of seconds, then he may have had a chance. But because Demon R is there, I think it would take a mistake from Demon R for him to drop time and lose tyre temperature. So interestingly, again, as we make our way towards the horrible hairpin, Steve F1 going slightly defensive into the left-hander, Demon R taking a very wide line, and it's this bit now where Steve F1 is going to take the tight line, and he needs to. Demon R takes the wider line. That's going to give him different speeds on the exit of the corner and different runs down the hill, but I think Steve F1 may be able to just about cover this off. But the interesting point for these two as well, though, Steve, is I don't think either one of them is going to want to take a risk into the final corner, although Demon R is close enough to pull up alongside. Okay, this is not necessarily a risk, but yeah, neither of them is going to want to end up being off the track, and Demon R does manage to make the move. Steve F1, not a lot he could do there, but what he has done is made sure he's not ended up off the track by trying to defend it too aggressively or push too hard to not lose the position.
No, we saw the previous lap, Steve F1 was able to get that inside line through that right curve to stop Demon R getting the move, but this time around it seemed like Demon R got a better exit from the previous corner, and he was just able to get that inside line and get the move done.
Yeah, hashtag pack life going on here.
Oh, here we go. I thought it's been a bit too tame now.
It's SRI's turn. Bye, Ray. Bye. I mean, I make a joke. It's so easy to do. I thought Gary was going for a new trick then. Yeah, it's so easy to do that in that corner, and it's one of those as well. Once you realise, oh no, I've braked a touch too late, when you apply more brakes, it makes the problem worse.
Yeah, this car does not like the brakes being pressed at the last minute, and when you're turning the wheel either, you just get sideways.
Sideways or straight on, and steer straight on. Hay just got a little bit physical with Fluffy, and Gary's there as well, as we can see Mitch trying to close in on Jason ahead. Well, this is still a fantastic battle around Hay. I mean, this is showing that Hay has put the practice in. He's managed to get himself back into the fight for the pack anyway. I mean, what I've mentioned before, I think I mentioned it last week, that the boost is there, it can help you catch up, but it's the driver that allows you to stay there. So who's going to go off next now that I've said that? Who's going to make himself look a little bit daft? As I've mentioned, it's about the driver.
Yeah, Gary in the thick of action again. He'll be wanting to avoid any incidents. Was in this race, he's had a few last lap incidents that have cost him.
There's a car wide at the head of the pack there. It looked like there was a little bit wide. It may have been Hay. I think it was Hay, and that's for him to try and stay on the road. It slowed him down. It may not have been Hay. It may have been Conrad actually. So maybe Hay took evasive. Either way, it's absolutely frantic.
God, look how close they were across the line. This is anybody's in the pack at the moment, and then somehow still, this is good racing. They're all managing just to keep it on the black stuff. This is all, it's good to see.
Commentator's curse. Come on. You've said it now. Now, one thing I will say is we're 36 minutes into this race already. It's absolutely flown by. And we've only hinted a little bit about fuel, in that at this race, fuel is not a problem. For whatever reason, no one's going to have to save fuel here unless they're very aggressive on the fuel. You'd have to drive it a bit like a naughty to be in that situation. The tyres, though, that's one of those where obviously we've seen Mitch all over the back of Jason as Hay has got himself sideways through the King. I think he's just tagged Gary and sent Gary for a little journey.
Gary to the moon there. Where's Gary gone?
I think Gary's gone for a trip to, I think Hay's given him tickets to the Grand Canyon.
Oh no, it looks like on the track map that's reset Gary as well. He's dropped all the way to the back, so I don't know what happened. It looks like Hay just was out of control and stepped back on the track. Oh, and now Jimmy again, his favourite corner, he's gone again.
There he has someone else dipping a wheel. Who was that? I think it was Conrad dipping a wheel on the gravel just by the pit exit. Yeah, it does look like Gary has been reset. That's absolutely devastating for him. I mean, it's one thing if you drive off the track yourself and end up getting reset, that's one thing. Connor, careful there! Oh! No. Would you like to explain why you just went, no? Would it have anything to do with the fact that if he hadn't got that back on the tarmac, there's a jump right?
Aeroplane accident would have been coming his way.
Yeah. But yeah, so for Gary, yeah, I mean, he didn't put his car there by choice, unfortunately, and he's ended up being reset. So it's a double whammy for him as Jason, late goes defensive, but he was ahead enough to be able to do it. But those two fighting, as Mitch trying to get up alongside and sneaks through, but now he's going to go deep.
Nice move,
oh no! It was a nice move until he dipped a wheel on the old desert.
Yeah, Jason's. He looks like he's in a good groove around this track. Then they just positioned his car nicely. That when Mitch went for the move, he was able to get the switch back. And look at this! Look at this guy, isn't he doing well? Commentator's curse.
we could try it. DMR sitting second, Steve F1 third, Dave the Arp. You know what? We're not seeing him for pretty much the whole. Oh no! Who's that? That's Tyler.
Oh.
Yeah, I thought he might be going for a late pit stop then, but you know what? I'm just having a look at the time, Steve, and I think the pack, from Jason down, they're now on their last lap of the race. Right, I think, yeah, looking at the time, I do think the top four are going to have another lap to do, but from Jason down, they're on their final lap of the race, so this is now crucial. So for someone like Tyler, who may have at that point thought, I'll dip into the pits, not on this lap, you've got to keep going, mate. So this is absolutely frantic. Jason coming under pressure from Mitch once again. We saw Mitch try and make the move through this combination of corners previously, as Connor is closing in on them.
Yeah, Mitch will want to get this position to get points for the championship. So he's only got about 2 or 3 corners to make this move done. Jason defending the inside here. This could give Mitch the opportunity on the exit to get a good run. But look at Conrad. Conrad's joining the fight as well right at the end.
Yeah, Conrad absolutely flying. What I like that about there from Jason was they were in opposite positions this time. Mitch realised he couldn't brake late. He couldn't brake late, sorry. So Jason, anyway, leading the pack into the final part of the corner.
Look at the inside of Mitch, that he didn't quite get the move done.
No, he didn't.
Yeah, this is the final corner for these guys, as you say. I think Jason's going to hold on.
No, we've got cars going off. Jason is going to hold off. Hayes, big sideways. Oh, he's going to the side of Fluffy. Big round. No.
Oh, that's not the way Hay wanted to finish. He's gone across the line backwards.
Oh, no, there's someone in the background. Who's that? Is that Tyler? Yeah.
I know he likes a bit of farming, but that's a bit ridiculous.
Yeah, you don't need to go mow in the desert. Wow, what an end to the race though. Yeah, I mean, I can't say that I can put blame on Hay for that crash because I didn't see why he ended up sideways. I did see the 2 cars ran wide on the exit of the corner. It's so easy to do as a mentioned all race. SGP though, I mean, I don't know what to say other than,
class of his own again today, just absolutely just dominant. He's just got something in this car that no one else seems to be able to do. And Tyler's that's Twilight waiting has crossed the line, but yeah, well done to SGP. That was another very impressive win. Demon R almost throwing away second place at the final corner, but no, great drive from both him and Steve F1 to get the podium positions.
Yeah, and I mean, I mentioned a little while ago, we're not seeing much about Dave the Arp. He's kept himself well out of trouble here, and for him, I think finishing 4th here and not going off, I think he'll feel a bit. It's a bit like what's the word? It's a bit cheesy, a bit corny, but I think for Dave in a race like that, that's one of those that could feel like a win.
Absolutely. I think for a lot of those leading drivers, I think it was just purely about staying on the track. So I think for Demon R, SGP, Steve F1 and Dave the Harp, I think probably all of them, they went into that race with that target of just try and stay on the track, and they would likely come out with a good result, and that's what's happened.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think if SGP had had an off, he would have easily found himself in at best 3rd place. Obviously they've had to perhaps had time to get back into it, but this is just going on the sort of the gaps between them. If any one of those 4 had gone off, then they, like SGP would have ended up at best 3rd, Steve Demon R would have ended up at best 4th, Steve F1 would have ended up at best 4th, Dave the Harp would have ended up at best 5th, but it'd have been 5th and in the pack. So it could have been much worse. So yeah, I think you're absolutely right there. The mentality for those 4 going into that one of, right, the winner here could be the person that makes the least mistakes, and happens to be also be a bit quick. But yeah, it's at some tracks, in some cars, it's the right attitude to take. For SGP, phenomenal once again. And the thing is, even though as drivers, a lot of us know exactly what it is that he's doing, the drivers are not able to repeat isn't the word, replicate what SGP does in this car. So yeah, I mean, I think that result is going to put him about 25 points ahead now. So even if he has a disaster at the next race and scores 0 points, which is very unlikely, it would still end up 5 points ahead if Steve F1 wins. So yeah, he's going to need others would need there to be 2 disasters, and somehow I can't see that in this championship. For Demon R, Steve F1, great battle, and makes it close between those two for second place as well now. I feel sorry for Mitch though. He clearly had pace on the opening lap, but as soon as he had that first off, he just found himself in a world of pain for the whole race then.
Yeah, that was an expensive race for Mitch, because he had got a bit of a head up of steam in the last few races, winning his first DGT race, so could have potentially been the favourite for second in the championship, but that's put a dent in that now. And yeah, Demon R, I think now probably about 3 points behind Steve F1. I think that's going to be the closest battle in the championship, with SGP running away with it.
Yeah, so we ignore the SGPs there. So it's a fight for first, Steve.
Yeah, exactly.
For everybody else in the pack though, I mean, it did look like SRI was having a good battle with Mitch. Fluffy was in all of the action once again. I was impressed with Jason. I don't know how much practice he managed to have around that track, but for Jason, for me, it was always his racecraft, like those little battles we saw with him and Mitch. Jason seemed to know when to go, right, okay, I'm going to back off a little bit here and let the other person either make the overtake or go off. And it's not easy to do that as a driver, is it, to sort of put the emphasis on the other person?
No, that's right. I mean, having the speed is one thing, having the racecraft is another, and yeah, knowing where to position your car is a key thing as well. And yeah, Jason a couple of times at the end of that race just seemed to know where to position his car to make sure he came out the corner still in front.
Yeah, good stuff. And for everybody, I don't know how many times Jimmy's tyres got dirt on them, but I would like to think that at least for the likes of Connor, I mean, Connor's one of those where I don't know, I feel he had the pace to give SGP a fight in that one.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, even in practice, it was clear he was one of the quickest guys. I was really impressed with how he came through the field early on, but then unfortunately he just made that mistake, and that's really cost him. But I think for him, the positive he can take away is he's clearly found something now that's enabled him to have stronger pace, and whatever it is, if he can now replicate that in the next few races, he could be another one who could be up there more regularly now.
Yeah, definitely. I'm trying to think who else has had interesting races back there. Rich was right there in the action once again. Wasn't able to match his 7th place from previously, from the previous race, but in there in the action. Gary, unfortunately, Gary didn't get to the end of the race. I think frustration took hold with the crash and the reset for him on that one. I mean, that is, I tried mentioning it at the time, it is a bit of a painful one, that in that, like when Connor had his off and got reset, he can only blame himself. He made an error, and unfortunately, going round the back of the barriers, he perhaps didn't realise that can sometimes cause you to be reset. So he's going to be pissed at going off, but then he's going to be pissed at the game for resetting him. Gary's situation is different, because the reason he's ended up being off the track is not through his own doing. It's not his own fault. So then, as he's tried to get back on the track and then he's been reset, he's not now pissed at the game for being reset. He's potentially pissed at the reason why he was off the track. So it's even though it's an almost identical situation, when you look at the bare bones of it, it's a very different situation.
Absolutely, and I think it was the timing as well for Gary. It was so late in the race, he then didn't have the time to make the positions back up in the way that Connor could, to an extent. So with Gary, there was probably a bit of frustration that's maybe happened a few times to him in recent races where late incidents have cost him, and that just probably explains a little bit of that frustration for him.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we all remember the hashtag headset fund from don't laugh. But hopefully Gary's
Many people won't get that one.
No, they won't. But yeah, I mean, I can fully understand his frustration on that one. And the thing is, I mean, it's one of those things on a track like this, like we saw with Twilight actually. Twilight's driving along normally, dips a wheel on the gravel, and all of a sudden he goes from being in a pack in the fight to flying nearly upside down backwards across the road all the way into the desert, getting reset. Unfortunately, as it's resetting and he's trying to pull away, Tyler comes round the corner, nothing he can do, smashes into the back of Twilight. They end up both off the track. So now that never a little incident, but now that little moment has turned into something massive, and then as it's calming down, it's got bigger and it's then affected other people. And that's one of those things that when stuff like that can happen again and again, even if it is an accident, it can still be very, very frustrating.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no small loss on that track. You lose so much time, and Twilight, he'll just want to forget that race because he's been strong everywhere else. He's had a good season, but obviously just that track, it was one of many who just really suffered around there.
I mean, what I would say to both Twilight and to Gary is cheer up, man. It could be worse. You could be stuck underground in a hole full of water. I mean, come on, you know I mean well. I couldn't have set that one up any better, I don't think.
Yeah, that was a bit better.
I'm happy with that one. I'm not going to do the last one because it's absolutely shocking, so I think I'll delete that one. But yeah, I mean, also, for anyone that's interested, the post-race comments will have already been shown across the screen. Normally I mention that they'll show them because that's where I would add them in, but hopefully I would have already done it by now. What I do want to mention though, Steve, is that there's 2 races left in this championship now, pending any incident reports, which I can't imagine SGP is going to be getting a penalty for anything. We've mentioned he's going to be 25 points ahead. The last 2 races, the next one is the DGT Seaside, which, I mean, to be fair, the majority of the grid know that track like the back of the hand. It's the DGT League test track, basically. So I can't see anybody beating SGP at that track unless he hits the bus stop. But anybody could do that at any point. We know that that's a feature of that track. I think in a way it'd be easy to say, oh well, this is SGP's championship tied up. But I must admit, I think if I was SGP going into Seaside, I think for that race I'd go in with the mentality of, look, it don't matter if I win, it don't matter if I come 8th, 7th, it doesn't matter. My main aim is don't bin it in the bus stop, because if he bins it in the bus stop and then it gets in his head of reminders of when things have gone wrong in championships, crucial turning points that have not gone his way, if that starts flooding in at that moment, it could have a knock-on effect and put the pressure on for that last race. Whereas if I think he approaches it in a much sort of, look, I don't care what happens as long as I don't really bin it there, or if I do bin it, pre-prepare for that scenario. So basically go, well, look, if it does happen, it doesn't matter. Rather than it being, oh bang, hit the wall, oh no, and it like the whole world crumbling down. I don't know if I'm making any sense there.
Yeah, I mean, he's in such a good, strong position now. He doesn't need to take any risks, does he? So in those 50-50s, he can afford to back out, and it's not going to have the biggest effect on him. But yeah, I know what you mean as well. Is because even though to everyone else it probably looks like it's just in the bag, I'm sure for him he's not feeling that way. Having come so close the last 2 seasons, he's probably not wanting to count his chickens at all. But I think he just needs to just think about the last 2 races by just getting those points now, but I'm sure he'll still try, knowing him, to go and get the wins, and he's more than capable of doing that with the pace advantage that he seems to have.
Yeah, absolutely. And the last race is at Laguna Seca, which is a track that's not been used in the DGT League yet. However, it is a fantastic track, and if SGP does wrap up the championship in the Seaside, actually no, I think you should get a race ban for the Seaside. You're not meant to be going to the beach. I'll leave that there. I forgot what I was going to say then. Yeah, so Laguna Seca is not a track that's been used in the DGT League before, but this car around that track is actually, it's not the worst of cars to take around that track, but it is a little bit like Willow Springs in that you have to be careful. If you're going to go off, you've got to be careful where you may go off.
Yeah, it has got some similarities to Willow Springs. There's some big runoff areas with lots of dust, and when you do go off, it just sends you miles off. So it will be kind of a similar challenge, I think, to what we've seen today in this race.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, okay, I think it's time we have a look at the confirmed race result for today's event and check out what that has done to the championship standings. So, Steve, thank you very much for joining me on commentary.
You're welcome. Good to be involved again.
No worries. And yeah, let's see what that race has done to all of the standings. Confirmation then of the race result, and SGP does take the victory in the maximum 20 points, ahead of Demon R in second place on 17 points. Steve F1 finishes on the third step of the podium to take 15 points, and he was ahead of Dave the Harp, who had a great result, finishing in fourth and getting 13 points. Jason found his way to the racetrack and had to do it again once he was at the racetrack, thanks to the help of a few others. Fifth place for him and 11 points. Mitchell recovered well in the end to finish in 6th place and save 10 points. Connor, very interesting race to finish 7th. Probably deserved a much higher result than that, but sometimes that's the way the cookie crumbles. For Fluffy Planet though, he finished in 8th place ahead of SRI in 9th and Rich Blues in 10th. The battle between SRI and Rich Blues is going to continue. Hay finished in 11th place, however, unfortunately, due to an incident towards the end with Gary, does get a 5th place penalty, and with that having been brought to his attention, he did mention that he was not aware at all that an accident had happened, and if he had known, he definitely would have waited for Gary. So a bit of a shame there for Hay, but he has only got a -5 point penalty. For more details on that, check out the DGT Facebook page. Jimmy though finished in 12th place to get 4 points ahead of Tyler in 13th and Twilight in 14th, who had to come from a lap down. Formula Gary unfortunately got the DNF, so does not score any points, but was having a good race really up until the last few. Okay, let's see what that result then has done to the championship standings order. Well, SGP now extends his lead. He's on 134 points and he's 26 points ahead of Steve F1. Now there's 2 races to go, a maximum 40 points available, so the championship isn't decided yet, but it could be at the next race if SGP, I think, could outscore Steve F1 and the others by 15 points, then he's got a chance of wrapping up the title at the next round. Will he do it? There's only one way to find out. Come and check it out, see how he gets on. So yeah, Steve F1 is sitting in second place, but he's not comfortable there at the moment, because 3 points behind him now is Demon R in third place, who has got a 4-point gap over Mitch in fourth. Mitch, unfortunately, with his adventures in the race today, has ended up dropping the position there and losing a bit of ground on Steve F1 as well. 7 points between them, and given the usual finishing positions between second, third and fourth, yeah, it could be difficult to hold that back, but we'll see what happens in the last 2 races. Dave the Harp in the battle for 5th has managed to jump up to 5th on 65 points ahead of Fluffy on 62 points. Twilight's dropped down a place to 7th on 55 points, but I'm sure he'll fight back at the next 2 races. And then we've got Jimmy, who's now 5 points ahead of Bunsell in 9th place, who is only 2 points ahead of Rich Blues in 10th place. So the battle for 8th is still on. And having said that, SRI in 11th is still there with formerly Gary and Tyler and Conrad and Jason in the battle for 10th. So even Rich Blues is going to have to keep an eye on his rear. So after Jason, we've got Groover in 16th place on 5 points, and Hay, he may only have 4 points, but obviously he has scored more points than that in this championship in the races that he's done. Unfortunately, a couple of penalties have hindered his point scoring process. However, having talked to Hay and seeing how he has gone about understanding what's happened in the situations where penalties have been applied, I must admit, I like the way that he has approached it and his attitude towards it. He is definitely someone that is keen on waiting if he has made a mistake and hit someone. So like I mentioned with this incident in the race today with Gary, which unfortunately affected Gary quite badly, from Hayes' perspective, didn't know that it had happened, and I can understand that, given that I did actually personally have a look at the different views from Hayes on board, and actually found it extremely difficult to sort of see or know that anything had happened from those views. But unfortunately from Gary's view, there's a bit of a contact that ended up putting him quite a way off the track and losing a few places. Anyway, I would say keep the progress going to Hay and everybody else on the grid. It's been a fantastic championship so far, and it is not over yet. DGT Seaside is next up. It's a track that everybody knows and everybody loves and hates because of the bus stop. Will SGP take the title at the Seaside? Maybe. I know we want to, but there's 3 people that are still fighting to take it off him if they can. It's going to be absolutely fascinating end to the championship, I am sure, because after the Seaside we head up into the hilly desert of Laguna Seca for the season finale. Make sure you come join us for all of the action, and let's see how this is going to finish up. Really, the road to race wars definitely began, and it's nearly over, so don't miss a thing. Have a good one, everybody, and we'll see you all again soon.